In today's episode of Spiraling Up, we're finally doing it. We're swiping left, we're swiping right. We're having a great conversation with our guests today. This week, Joe and Mary-Blanche sit down with two exceptional professional services marketing leaders on navigating the different personalities you deal with in proposal and business development endeavors. Welcome, everybody. This is Spiraling Up with Hinge. All right, welcome everyone to Spiraling Up, the podcast for professional services marketers. My name is Austin McNair, and as always, I'm joined by my colleagues and co-hosts, Joe Pope and Mary-Blanche Kramer. As we get started, I want to say thank you to all of our listeners and those watching on YouTube. Please hit the subscribe button, like the video. If you're listening on an audio platform, make sure when you're, if you're probably driving in a car right now or something, get to a safe spot, leave us a review, support the show. All the engagement and interaction really helps and lets us know that people are listening and what you guys like to hear. Joe, you are one of our two guests here that got to go and sit down with Abby and Amy to talk about their presentation that they did at a recent SMPS summit event. I unfortunately could not make the trip all the way up to the Hinge office, but I know that you and Mary-Blanche were there with our two guests. Tell us about it. How did this all come about?
Well, I think we've been trying to find more and more ways to do it live, if you will. I mean, the ability to sit down with folks and have face-to-face conversations leads to good content. I don't know if you knew this, but if you've seen other podcasts, when they do that, a lot of times you'll get a really good, you get a good experience from that. And of course, we want to lean into those types of experiences as well. Yeah, Abby and Amy are two awesome friends of Hinge and folks that we interact with quite a bit through their local SMPS DC chapter, both of former presidents of that chapter. And they recently were selected to speak at the annual SMPS Amplify Conference, which is and once a year they bring together all of these different chapters at a pretty large conference. This year was in Columbus, Ohio, and they were selected to speak and talk about, well, swiping right, swiping left, particularly focused on the business development and capture process. And well, as I work for Hinge, sitting in the audience, I couldn't help but feel like there was a natural connection there. And so I walked up to Amy and Abby at one of the networking events, and I said, hey, we got to bring this to the pod. We got to talk about how we win opportunities and how we manage all the different personalities. And frankly, which ones are we trying to send to the curb? So like you hinted at in the intro, we're finally doing it. We are leaning into this, and I think the audience is really going to enjoy what Amy and Abby had to say on how we manage these different personalities.
Yeah, it's a great interview, and I know everybody who's listening is going to really enjoy it. So why don't we turn now then to Joe and Mary-Blanche's conversation with Amy Cuddy and Abby Harrington.
Okay, well, thank you guys for joining us. First, let's start with some introductions.
Okay.
You guys mind doing a quick round?
Sure. I'm Abby Harrington. I work for Gilbane Building Company. I am the sales operations manager, which means exactly what? It means I handle all the marketing or oversee marketing for our division. So I focus a lot on proposals, presentations, just selling what Gilbane does to our clients.
Absolutely.
Great. I'm Amy Cuddy. I'm the Director of Marketing and HR at Wilmot Sanz. We're a healthcare design firm. We focus on 100% healthcare hospitals.
Right.
I do marketing communications, proposals, and just recently took on HR, which is a whole new adventure.
Yeah.
So just a light workload just to keep yourself.
For sure.
Well, in between all of that, I know both of you are heavily active in our local SMPS chapter, SMPS DC.
Yeah.
And as a part of that, we all got together at the Amplify conference that SMPS puts on annually. And that was in Columbus this year. And I got to hear you guys both speak about a certain topic near and dear to our hearts, which is the just general capture process that we go through in professional services. You guys had a unique take on how we talked about this. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Well, Abby and I have both been working in proposals for our entire careers.
Yeah.
And so we really wanted to talk about the pursuit process and how to be a good pursuit partner. We're always in different partnerships, whether it's a prime sub or a design build. And, we've worked with lots of great partners, and then we've worked with lots of not so great partners. We really kind of wanted to break it down and try to inspire people to be that ultimate pursuit partner. And so we thought it would be really fun to do a cool
Something we know nothing about because we've both been married for a while now, but we hear there's dating apps and you can swipe left or right, and I still don't know which way is good and which way is bad. So
Right.
I had to remind myself before this podcast. I was like,
Swipe right is good.
We're really all showing our ages
yes.
now.
swipe right is green.
Yes,
What
exactly.
you mean to say, because I know color codes.
Right, exactly. So we put this big spin on it and really talked about like the different relationships and how you can respond in different scenarios, kind of like you would do in online dating.
Yep.
You show up for a first date, and then it really, how are you responding to different people and their reactions?
Yeah. With kind of all the typical players that we see in our pursuit process, like, the people in the room, we generalize, not saying they're all the same, but a lot of them kind of share some similarities. So that's what we picked up on. And then we just talk about ways to work around some of the challenges with the different personalities.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so this being the Spiraling Up podcast, we love to gamify things. And this also being a podcast hosted by Hinge, which may or may not have a naming similarity to one of these applications that you're referencing.
I've heard that before.
May have heard
Yeah.
I also know that we had the name first, just saying. Don't come after us, Hinge. We can't afford that.
Yeah.
But no, we thought that this just was a natural opportunity for us to talk about a topic that just comes outside the AEC industry as well. Because frankly, a lot of times, especially in the small, mid-sized businesses, we have marketing resources that wear a lot of different hats. And you were just talking about a few of the hats, including a new one that you've just taken on. So this was a good opportunity for us to, we'll say, provide some insights and information to some of our friends who listen in and understanding how they could potentially deal with some characters, if you will. So some prospective people for us to swipe right or left on.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, Mary-Blanche, do you want to talk through a few of these characters?
I do. And I just have to say before we get started, this was one of my favorite parts of y'all's presentation. And producer John will be including some of the memes that you guys included for each one of these. But I just thought this was such an awesome way to engage the audience and just really give the context like for the game that we're about to play. All right. So first up, tell us a little bit about the principal in charge.
Okay. So if it was a dating profile, I think something that the principal in charge would have on it is they're the big ideas person. They're going to fly in, fly out. They might not get super specific about details. And one of the challenges that comes with that is, they don't have a lot of time. And so they might come in and want sweeping changes at the last minute. So that's kind of the challenge that you deal with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and across professional services, you could think of this as managing partners and other folks who will have a great interest in being successful and winning work.
Absolutely.
But maybe not a lot of time to actually help make it be successful.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
They also hold a lot of power in the process.
That's right.
They can push a button and turn things to chaos. So you have to really get them on your
Manage
side. Early.
that. Yeah.
Well, another role that transcends across all professional services is the project manager role. Tell us a little bit about that.
So the project manager is really somebody that is focused on that budget, that schedule. They're really detail oriented. They want to know what they're supposed to be doing and by when. But they're, sometimes they can't be very flexible. Sometimes they have problems with soft skills and maybe communication.
So we're like
spreadsheets,
analysis.
No offense to any project managers out there because they do vary, but they're very focused on the details and they kind of want to look in their one lane and maybe not see the whole big picture. So it's really, it's your job as the marketer to help them see that big picture.
I think. And I find they're kind of the doer on the other side of the table, on the operations side of the table. They're the ones that are pulling the schedule for us together. So they kind of have a big weight on them that's very specific and not always strategy driven. So I think part of our job is to remind them of the strategy that, what's our win strategy? How are we going to get to the sell?
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, next up is the designer.
Oh, well, I've worked for architecture firms my whole career, so I have a soft spot for designers. Even when they're chasing after me with the red pen as a proposal is going out the door.
Blue pens only in this studio.
Okay, sounds good. So designers, I feel like you really just have to get to know what their hot buttons are,
Their
and
quirks.
their
Yeah.
quirks, yes. And I love designers, but you really need to constantly remind them of deadlines. You need to remind them that we're all in a shared interest, and like you appreciate their vision, you want their vision to be incorporated, but remind them like we do have a client to think about and what is realistic. So sometimes they'll embrace the vision over practicality, and you need to really focus them in. And I think I do that with like daily check-ins. How's it going? Oh, this looks great. I also stroke the ego a little bit, just because I think compliments go a really long way. Everybody likes to hear how great they're doing.
Yeah.
But also, make sure that they realize we're also in a competition for this. So you have to think about who we're competing against as well. And just really keep a close eye, I would say, on the designers.
I was going to say, I know on my side of the table, so I'm with a construction firm, so I would work across the table with a designer, and I find that pencils down becomes really important with them, or I think they will edit forever.
Yes.
Truly.
These the 10 pencils down too.
Yeah. So it's like you do kind of have to add guardrails for a personality like that who is going to want perfection, but we can't let perfection hold us back from getting the deadline done.
Getting the job done. Yeah.
Yeah.
I also find that with designers, defining the scope of what their deliverables are, like you're going to do 2 renderings, one's going to be this view, one's going to be that view, you're going to do a site plan, you're going to do
Guardrails.
this, like they need help defining that, because they won't, they'll see this vision and then they won't know how to conceptualize it into actual deliverables for your proposal document, for your interview, slide deck. And, they need that concrete reality versus like just continuing to sketch, or like, let's have another 90-minute charrette. It's like, what is coming out of that?
Yeah.
Right? So,
Do I need to be included?
yes, always is the answer.
Can you just let me know?
All right, let's go on to the marketing manager.
I mean, that's kind of me, and so I do love
That's our people,
right? No, they're the doer, they're the organizer. I think organization is one of their skill sets. So they're the ones kind of steering the ship, keeping everybody on task. They're sending out the draft schedule and when we need everything back by. And so I think for maybe a coordinator or possibly like a specialist that's trying to work with that manager, what's important is for you to tell them how you can contribute, because I don't always know what you're best at or what you want to work on, but I love when someone actually pulls me aside and says like, Abby, I would really love to do this section. Like I'm really trying to work on my graphic skills, whatever it is. That kind of knowledge is so helpful for me. So I have a better idea of where to assign people and what they are contributing. So I think that's important.
And especially if you're in a teaming arrangement. So let's say if I'm like on a design build team, so that means I'm working as the designer, Abby's the prime in that relationship. So I'm kind of reporting to her as the marketing person on the design side. I'm going to go to Abby and say, how can I support you in this pursuit? Because typically it would just be like resumes, projects, and then my design team is delivering her a design and an approach. But that doesn't mean that I can't support her in different ways. Maybe I'm doing background research on the client. Maybe I'm helping, collect sub information or reformatting it for her just to take load off of her plate. And I feel like in lots of prime sub relationships, that can really go a long way. What questions are you asking to that, prime marketing point of contact? Like, how can I help, further the team? Because you're all in it for the same goal.
Same reason.
Yeah.
So now on a similar lane, what about the marketing director?
Ooh, the director. You want to take that one? I mean,
I feel like that's your title.
Yes.
So like,
no, it's fine. It's fine.
Against you.
Again, I think they're kind of the more big picture person, almost similar to a principal in charge, where they know the overall firm strategy, and that's really what they're going to bring to the table. They just might not have time to dive down into the details. So I think it's important to sort of have a side conversation, get them knowledged up. So when they come to the whichever meeting they're able to come to, they know the background that's gone back and forth. And so they're chiming in with valuable input for their time. Yeah.
At my previous firm, I worked on a large team and I was managing all the pursuits going out. And, it was easy. It wasn't easy for me to get up to speed on everything that was going on.
Yeah.
So my team was very good at, kind of cluing me in on as I was reviewing things.
Yeah. All right. Well, last but not least, and this was my favorite one that y'all did in the presentation because it was so spot on. I was elbowing Joe like the entire time. But tell us about the business development person.
I mean, they're like the client person, right?
Yeah.
They know everybody in town. They're going to bring what should be a well thought out strategy, hopefully.
Yep.
But also sometimes they add kind of unhelpful comments to the situation, or they can be a little ambiguous with the direction of where we need to go.
Yes, very vague sometimes.
They can be very vague sometimes. So I do think it's our job on the marketing side, again, to kind of reel out the details that we need from them because they have that background knowledge with the client. They have those deep relationships. So that's really what I rely on them for is bringing it all together and connecting the dots.
Yeah, Abby, relationships have been a big talking point on this podcast specifically as we've continued to dive in and trying to understand this whole life cycle that professional services organizations go through when they are trying to win work, retain work, develop teaming relationships, partnerships. And that business development person, especially in the AEC space, but we'll see this in all industries, that early relationship piece and then translating that into how we respond and then how we present is truly what will set organizations apart. And I know that's a topic Hinge gets involved in a lot of times with our clients as the creative agency and it plugs in. It's taking not just imagery, but it's taking the thoughts from these folks and translating that into creative words, positioning, messaging, and so forth.
And it's an interesting balance because our clients want to see the subject matter experts and maybe not necessarily somebody in a traditional BD role. And so how do you translate those relationships where you have that frontline business development person, but they're also helping get those seller doers out there to have them be a part of that relationship. And it's all kind of coming together into that package and that presentation. And it's kind of like a beautiful dance, if you will. You just have to choreograph it correctly. Maybe that will be the theme for our next
a beautiful
session.
dance.
Yes, we can have a choreophed dance. That would be amazing.
Yeah. But it might not be a TikTok dance, guys. I don't think we're ready for that.
I don't know.
They have themes like our rom-com.
That's right. Yes.
We just did an episode, how to lose a lead in 10 days.
Amazing.
What was the other one called?
It was a follow-up from 10 things we hate about websites.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah. So we've got a little bit of that starting to roll.
Yes.
We'll work on it.
Yeah. I like it.
Well, speaking of games, movies, and so forth, let's start to dive in. Let's talk a little bit about the types of scenarios, pickup lines, if you will, that you might run into as you talk to these various personas.
Sure.
Love it.
All right.
Well, we have these branded note cards.
I did notice that.
Let's see. This is like a real
Lovely
game show.
Wow. Game cards. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you what persona it is. So if it's a project manager, graphic designer, I'll let you know who that is. And then I'm going to give you a quote from them. Okay. And y'all are going to have to let us know, are we swiping left or are we swiping right?
Okay.
And then we'll talk a little bit about why.
Okay.
Well, I was wondering before we dived in, do we have any visual elements that we could utilize in showing if we're going to go right or left?
Yes, we do. We do have them. All right, here we go. We have our fantastic swipe right, swipe left. Wait, which color are you? I guess, do you want to be good or bad? You're
need to
wearing
be
bad. You
bad.
need to be-
Oh,
Good.
Yeah.
okay, fine.
We need contrast, depth.
I love
We don't want the finger to disappear.
I was so ready
The
for
power
that
right.
left. Okay, fine.
Right. Right. And then this one has to go this way.
That's right.
Let's see if that enough.
It'll be great.
I love it. Okay. All right.
All right, let's
Got our
dive in.
props.
Yeah,
Ready to
love
go.
props.
We're ready. All right. So first up, first persona is going to be the project manager. I color coded the schedule so even your grandma could follow it.
Oh, well, I feel like that's a right. That's great.
Yeah.
That's going the extra mile. I mean, I love that. Yeah, easy to read. That's good for the client. Like, you don't want to forget about this is going to the client. It's not all what we like to see. It really needs to be easy to read too.
Mhm.
Yeah, y'all talked in your presentation a lot about how first impressions matter. So when I read this one, I thought it just really tied well to some of the, first impressions do matter. And
Yeah.
I hear that coming out of the gate, like, yep, I'm swiping.
Mhm.
Right.
I would say that's really great. And I love that, the project manager took time to do that. From the other side, I would say, like, is it following the brand standards of our proposal?
Yeah.
Is it following what the client asked for? Did they ask for a bar chart? Did they ask, so it's great that the PM took that initiative, but I also have PMs that do these like crazy, Microsoft project schedules that like have 8-point font. And so if they color coded that chart,
Like, no one asked for that.
Maybe we're in deep crap.
Yeah.
Let's go this way. So while Abby has a great positive attitude about that, I always am like skeptical when PMs take stuff into their own hands without talking to me first.
Yeah.
She's been hurt.
I know. I live on
She's
the
been
other
burned in the
side.
past. All right, we're going with business development role next. The client values sustainability.
Mm.
Let's weave it in where it makes sense.
Where it makes sense, I'm so okay with, as long as it's not the day that our pursuit is due.
Yeah.
Like, so I think it's a right with conditions.
Yeah, I would say so. I would always ask, can you define sustainability?
Yeah.
Right where my head
Because
went.
that, as we said before, BD and big points. Was there a specific conversation that you had with somebody? Was it their director of sustainability? Did they talk about wind farms or solar voltaic or et cetera, et cetera? I'm not a sustainability expert, but can we weave in something more detailed than just our sustainability boilerplate narrative, which is most likely already in our submission for, compliance reasons?
Yeah,
Mhm.
certainly. And I mean, this is the place where Hinge's research really uncovers kind of the things that tip the scale. And obviously having a tie to the key issues and topics and challenges that bother your clients, your customers on a day-to-day basis is really a big thing. But another big thing is also authenticity.
Mhm.
And you can run afoul very quick when you start to turn it into the copy and paste. Oh, well, sustainability.
We'll just throw that in and we'll throw
Yeah,
that in.
what's the acronym of the week, right? And
Yeah.
we're just going to throw that into our proposal response. So I think the it makes sense place where it's like,
Yes,
we're going to
yeah.
add this where it makes sense is what
Yeah.
makes it
I
right.
picked up on that immediately.
Yeah.
But I've definitely been victim of BDs who like to add everything in the kitchen sink, is what we call it.
Mhm.
Yes.
So any shiny object that comes along, they want to shove it into the pursuit. So-
You run into that at website engagements a lot. Oh, well, you mean this 50th division of our second practice group doesn't get its own special landing page?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or comments like, we can just put it in the appendix. Like,
No
no one's
one's
going to
gonna
read
know.
that.
Right. They're not looking at it.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we're going back to the project manager role. Deadlines, question mark. I thought those were more like suggestions.
Oh,
Oh no.
Oh.
That's gonna be over here.
Yeah.
Am I swiping the correct way? Left, left, left,
Left.
left.
Hard left.
hard left.
Yeah.
NASCAR race. Real left.
Yeah. So I find that project managers really respond well to having that upfront schedule of like you're at your kickoff, you have that outline, you have the expectations, you have, calendar invitations, reminders, like everything is laid out or sent out right after that project kickoff. And I work very hard to like make sure that, expectations are set so that people won't be disappointed. And I think I like to give people grace. So like if you miss one deadline, it's like, okay, what happened? How can I help? If you missed 2 deadlines, then it's like, all right, let's refocus. How can we support you? And this has to get done. It's not a like or else, but it's like this has to get done. So what's the plan? And like, do we need to go talk to so and so? Not a like threat, but kind of a threat.
I think it's, we're doling out responsibility at the kickoff at the beginning, but it is up to us to build in the accountability as well, which is what I think you were speaking to. So everyone has other stuff on their plate. And as the marketing manager, I do think we are the ones holding people accountable in the pursuit process to get things done on time.
But whether it's a pursuit or you're launching a visibility campaign or anything along those lines, I think we can all understand and respect the need to following the schedule because everything will go completely sideways otherwise.
Yes. I was in a project manager role years prior, and it's like that. It's the Bible for the project, right? So suggestions, no. Deadlines, yes.
And I feel like some teams think that like the internal deadlines can slide. But I feel as though it's important to note that like everyone else gets stressed when those internal deadlines slide. And then you get closer and closer to the actual deadline. And so it's kind of like a lessons learned process. Post it's like, how did that go? Like if we had hit these deadlines, we wouldn't have had A, B, and C close to the end. So
I think when one deadline slides internally, what it ends up doing is creates more stress on whoever the dependency was.
Exactly.
Yes.
It's
like a trickle down kind of.
Oh yeah.
That's
Not
great.
Dates.
Yes, exactly.
So none of us are going to date that one.
We're not. All right. Next one up is a designer who says, I mocked up 2 layouts. Pick your favorite, and I promise not to reinvent it at 3 a.m.
All right.
I mean, I you have some apprehension. I'm always like, I'm just going to go right. Like, I think I'm going to date a lot of people. Like, I don't want to date anybody.
Well, I've been married longer than you. So I feel like, all right, so is this a designer, like a graphic designer, or is this like a designer? Like,
so worried already. She's so worried. Or contact me before I say yes.
Sort of your favorite designer. It's just
I'm going to say graphic designer.
Yeah, what's
trusted.
graphic designer?
Trusted.
Okay. So I do trust graphic designers, especially ones that are on my team.
Yeah.
I feel like they're wizards in a sense. And I usually have really great relationships with graphic designers. But so I would agree with Abby. Architects, when they're designing like buildings or things like that, and they say they're not going to change it, that's like bold-faced lie. They're going to change it up until the last minute. So graphic designers, I'll go on a date.
Okay.
We got one.
Okay. All right. We're sticking with designers.
Okay.
But all right. We still have an hour before submission. Let's swap out all 30 graphics.
I mean, I think that's what Amy is concerned about.
No.
That's all
away.
That's a duck.
Yeah.
Yes.
They've been known to have an epiphany in a shower, right? Where it's just like the water was falling down their face and thought to themselves, well, why not change every single graphic for this submission that is due as due? Yeah.
Right. So what I do in that scenario is I ask the why.
Mhm.
Why do we need to change this graphic? And sometimes there is a really good reason.
Yeah.
Like I read this article last night when I couldn't sleep about this proposal, and the president of, this institution said this, and this. And so we really need to hone in on this, or we need to have like a, some sort of image that ties to this topic. And so in that sense, I would say, okay, well, we're not going to change all 30 images, but let's change out 5. And then let's go through and talk about this. Let's take 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And I always give it like a time block because we can't sit there for hours and do that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of giving the yes, but also the no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good advice.
I like to think of that as the yes and.
Yes, that's
And
correct.
it sounds nice when you say it, but you're actually giving them parameters around which they need to follow.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, yes, we can do it. And it's only going to be 5 images.
Yes.
Not 35.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, let's switch it up to marketing director. Marketing director comes to you and says, I cleared an hour to workshop win themes with you because if we're going whale hunting, we'd better have the right bait.
I know this one's making me think. I just think I would need to know how far down the line we are with
Yeah.
are we already
2
into a
weeks
specific
out.
pursuit?
Mhm.
Yeah, are we already focused on a project and we're working on that, or are we at the very beginning of the opening game pre-sell and we truly are going whale hunting, like as in we haven't even picked a project yet.
Right.
If that's where she's getting or she's getting involved, that's awesome. Like,
Yeah.
let's do it. I love brainstorming. I think it's super helpful to set the tone. But if we're
2 days
further down the line, yeah,
away
like
from the
that.
submission and you
We're
want to talk
already
about
being a
win
little-
themes,
And we're
that's
swiping
like,
left.
no.
That's the phrase right
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
If we're thinking win themes, this is early on in any sort of
It
pursuit
has to be.
process.
Yeah.
It has to be.
Because if you're at the end of a pursuit process and you still haven't yet decided what your win themes are,
Mhm.
your chances of being successful here means pretty minimal, frankly.
Yeah.
You could luck into it, but that's not the way to go about having a good, solid process.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Principal in charge comes to you and says, let's align for 15 minutes so I can share my vision. Then I will disappear like a good magician.
I mean, I would appreciate that. Like, you know,
Please disappear after 15
yeah, exactly.
Right.
Like, yeah, don't linger behind me, but just come in. Let's have a quick alignment meeting, and then I can bring that forth to the full stakeholder meeting that has everybody involved without getting sidetracked completely on what their vision is. Because that's kind of what can happen is they bring a vision to our big stakeholder meeting, and then the whole meeting is going sideways quickly because they're focusing in on a tangent, basically.
I agree with that. Although I would swipe left in that I would be scared that they would not disappear forever and that they would
Also,
keep
15 minutes.
coming
15
back.
printing-
Yeah.
I always say 5 minutes, but then it turns into like 90 minutes. No, I don't.
And you haven't eaten lunch now, and you're
Right.
moving into your next.
No, I work with great design partners, and I think that they're very succinct in what they want. It just depends on who you're working with,
Right.
You
have to know.
have to know
Yeah.
your personalities,
Yeah.
and it takes time to get to know your personalities.
Right. I definitely have a principal in charge. I absolutely 100% believe that he would just give me his vision and walk away.
Mhm.
And then there's others where I'd be like, I don't know.
Like,
Now you're
I'm
asking
gonna
us
hear
for
back
lunch.
from you.
So
Yeah, right.
I feel like you're going to be more involved. than
Like
you
you're going to be here for a little while. Yeah.
They walk in, they have their lunch with them, they put it on the table.
It just so happens.
You've got time, right?
All right. Let's go to marketing coordinator next. Comes to you and says, I locked the draft at 2 p.m. sharp. So any last minute edits can kindly take a hike.
So marketing coordinators are my heroes, my personal heroes. So I would usually always give them a pass.
Mhm.
However, that's not very flexible or adaptable, which marketing coordinators need to be. And so while they are my heroes and I love them, they need to understand that, you have to accommodate everyone and their schedules. And sometimes that can be really hard and frustrating. So let's say a principal in charge comes with like 2 more comments. Now, if it's like, you need to change this word from team organizational chart to organizational chart, like we're not.
Yeah, that's
do
not a
that.
fatal flaw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we have spelled the client's name wrong or they caught another client's name somewhere on the page, like we're unlocking that draft.
Yeah.
So, it's all about perspective and what time we're at, I think. And, understanding that, there are certain things like I know Abby talked about in our presentation, like having a shared draft and comments and making sure that everybody can see the comments so that there's like issues resolved between people. So it's not falling on the marketing coordinator.
To decide that.
Yeah.
I do. That is a good opportunity for collaboration where there's whole conversations happening in the sidebar of we use Adobe for the live link.
Mhm.
So everyone can comment and see everybody else's comments. The other thing that we do though is we send out a final review draft that goes to everybody. And then we send a fatal flaw that goes to the key players only, which is generally probably 4 of us.
Right.
You know, like
Yeah.
it is truly just the BD marketing principal in charge. And so it's a very small group for that fatal flaw compliance issue sort of hot button comments only.
We have a lot of similarities in the marketing world in that when we're going through a creative exercise, for example, whether it's a website or a logo or things along those lines, there's kind of 2 distinctive groups of which you would want to have created. And that fatal flaw / last decision maker /
Yes.
okay, we're moving forward with, whatever, periwinkle as a new color. Like that's got to get through that small working group. But if you start to involve the opinions of everyone at that point, then we're in trouble.
Yeah.
The likelihood of the likelihood of having to then restart is a challenge. So I think there's a great synergy there between both pursuit and then the creative side of marketing as well.
Yeah.
For sure.
Okay, now same role, marketing coordinator. They come to you and they say, wait, oh my gosh, I had no idea that was due today. How do you handle something like that?
Oh, we're going to have a one-on-one about that.
Yeah.
Like that's like a really big red flag.
So
What's worse than swiping left?
It's like, I don't think I want to say it out loud, but like that one really
Fired zone?
Yeah. That would not be great.
yeah. So I feel like there would be 2 responses for me as so right now in my current role, I'm at a smaller firm, we're about 50 people. So I don't have any direct reports, coordinators. But we in my previous role, I would say like, okay, we're going to talk about how we missed this deadline later. However, we need to get this deadline done. So let's work a plan. And then I would jump in and put my marketing manager hat on, take a step down and then
All hands
in, like get it out.
Yeah.
Which is what I love about AEC marketers and also what I hate about AEC marketers is that those
The team mentality is strong.
it is the team mentality is strong, but also the expectations that you are going to just put everything in your life aside to get those deadlines done. And that goes for like, the principals think that, that you can work 24/7 and to get it done or review it or whatever. Like, and it's different between different firms, but I think that,
It's an ethos.
it is an ethos and I feel like we need to change it. So let's get off my soapbox.
No, it's
I love it. I was picking up what you were picking down.
We've done a lot of research into employer brands specifically and the types of things that mid to senior level folks are looking for in the type of organizations that they work with. I mean, the younger folks, a lot of times they just don't quite even understand. Like the culture they go into is what they think all culture is that way, for example. But, organizations that do make a commitment to that balance, if you will, that understanding, or, even in circumstances where when something goes sideways like that, it's not, oh, let's let marketing figure this S out. Like the leadership will help as well. Right.
Yeah.
So I loved how, Amy, how you broke down the kind of the 2 angles here to this. It's like, one is we'll figure out why this went sideways tomorrow. We need to get this figured out now.
Yes.
It's the right way of thinking through it.
As a team.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to stay on marketing, but we're going to pivot to the director role. Director comes in and says, I'm flying in for the final pitch, but don't expect me to touch the proposal prep.
Okay. I don't love that. I'd probably swipe left.
I would never. I'm very hands-on, but I do know that some people in this role are not very hands-on. And I just see like a time bomb, like ready to go off. That's just gonna throw ratchets in and make everybody nervous.
I think it's just respect for people's time. Like I want someone to come prepped. Keyword prep.
Yeah.
So read the proposal, please, and then you can start commenting and adding in because I'm sure you have strategic, valuable input. It's not that you don't, but you need to have the background knowledge of everything that we have been through to get to this point that we are at right now. So,
because you do kind of bond as a proposal team, even from like the principal, the project manager, the designer, the super.
And there's like a back and forth, where there's a reason we
if you're
said
working
yes
on
to
a-
something and no to something. And so that they might not know that and then come in and
right. Yeah. And you don't want somebody upsetting the apple cart, especially at the 13th hour.
yeah.
All right, I'm excited for this next one. This is a good one.
Okay. We're ready. We're ready.
Yes. So business development is the persona.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
I promised the client the moon. I'm sure that you can figure out how to land it.
Okay. So
I do feel like this has happened to probably both of us
does
before.
happen a lot, actually.
Yeah.
No hate towards BD.
That's a lust.
Okay,
Yeah.
hello. So I would say this would be a left, and I would red flag it up to my technical team. And say, like, this has happened. Like, we need to work the problem here. And how are we going to figure this out?
Yeah.
And I think it would be, us using our knowledge of the client and what we've done with them in the past, hopefully, and what we know about them to understand, like, okay, are we going to partner to offer them the moon? Do we need to think more strategically about what services we're offering? But that would be my first thing, is like, what did this BD person promise? And then how can we deliver it by, who do we know? Who can we partner with? What resources do we need? Do we need to make an external hire? Like, how do we work this problem?
Yeah.
And then maybe there's a discussion about reining in that BD person a little bit, especially with that client.
Yeah. Like, this has happened.
right.
So we're going to address it, but also don't do that again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you're scaring me.
Exactly.
We'll do some research.
All right, we've got one more. So we're going to end on a project manager persona.
Okay.
I built a compliance checklist because nothing says romance like deadlines and spreadsheets.
I mean, I like that. I'm going to swipe right for
like that as well.
organization, taking responsibility, being prepared. So that, I usually feel it falls on me to do a compliance matrix. But when someone takes the initiative, like, I love a check and balance. I don't need to be the only one calling all the shots like that. So I love when someone else's eyes are on it too. That's super helpful.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think, the project manager being really into details and understanding that we need to, cross every T and dot every I, like, just someone that's going to be in the weeds with us, and that they care enough about the pursuit to be that dedicated to do something like that. I'll go in the trenches with them any day.
Yep. Super appreciated.
You'd say this is something that would fit into the love language category.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Terms of endearment.
Yeah.
spreadsheet.
Exactly.
Compliance. Yeah.
Abby, Amy, thank you both so much for joining us here on Spiraling Up today. I think we've covered quite a bit. We've had some great opportunities to dive into the different roles that folks will come in contact with when you are trying to win work in the professional services space.
Yeah.
I think we've given some guidance to those who maybe haven't yet experienced the world of online dating. The B2B,
Life guidance.
in the B2B sense, at least. So there's been a lot of great topics today. Thank you again for agreeing to jump on with us.
Yeah. Of course. Thanks for having us here. This was so much fun.
Absolutely.
It's our pleasure.